Finnish people have quite negative attitudes commonly to strong religiosity, but also to strong non-religiosity, which means that our country is still could be called the atmosphere there as civil Lutheranism, like cultural practices of Lutheranism are important. Our Muslim population is really small. It's difficult to estimate the exact numbers, but I think the estimates move between from 1% to 3%. So it's not a big population, but the situation is very different in different parts of the country. So in the biggest cities and in the Helsinki area, we have more diversity and also much more diverse schools. We have schools that can have like up to 40% of Muslim students. And our Muslim population is very ethnically, linguistically, socially heterogeneous group. We've had Muslims, Tatar Muslims, already from 19th century, but the group that Finnish people kind of understand as the Finnish Muslims are the ones that started immigrating to Finland after 1990s from Middle East, Africa, and Asia. And what maybe you also should know that Finland is quite Islamophobic country. There are many studies, international studies that show this. For example, this research by Pew Research Center that shows how 62% of Finnish people agree with these statements that Finland, that Islam is fundamentally incompatible with our country's cultures and values. For example, in Sweden, this percentage is something like 30%. But the same study also shows that it was something like 35% of Finnish people say that they personally know a Muslim. So it's, if we think about in terms of contact hypothesis, this might be that many Finnish people do not, in their everyday life, they do not meet Muslims. But yes, this kind of study does not differentiate between different parts of the country that can be really different. But also young Finnish Muslims see that Finnish national identity is something that is not for them. It's other to Islam, and Islam is like alien to Finnish society, and they feel that if they become like more Finn, if they develop their Finnish citizenship, this might mean losing their religion. And then about the education system, we have this one school for all ideology that has been there for long. It's the kind of more generally Nordic idea. It's an egalitarian education system. Educational equality is kind of the high ideal. It's free education for all, almost only public schools, which means that we don't have also almost any faith-based schools. There are some Christian schools, we have one Jewish schools, but not Muslim schools at all. And there is the national core curricula that is applied everywhere with some local tailoring. But generally we have like all students everywhere in the country go through the same kind of education, same kind of schools. But teachers have a strong autonomy, as I already mentioned yesterday, which means that they have a lot of freedom in implementing the curriculum, and they can be creative in their ways of maybe emphasizing some things in the curriculum, because we also don't have any kind of school inspections. So often nobody knows what the teachers do, but the teachers themselves and their colleagues, they are not controlled in any way. And also there are some multiculturalist policies, educational policies, which means that students everywhere should be able to have their mother tongue education in schools and also education according to their own religion. If 3 students in the same area belong to a certain religious tradition, they should have their own religious education at the school if they have a curriculum in the Finnish system. But it should not be confessional teaching, which means that commitment to religion should not be promoted in education. Religious practice in classroom is not allowed. So it is knowledge-based subject, and identities should be supported, but not in a confessional manner. So it's an interesting space. And here's one part from the national core curriculum for basic education. So instruction of religion should support the pupil's growth into becoming a responsible member of his or her own community and a democratic society, as well as becoming a global citizen. So it's kind of teaching about and from religion, teaching citizenship through religion, drawing from religion to support citizenship. And Lutheran religious education, of course, predominates. It's more than the members of Lutheran Church. I think it's like 80% that participate in that. Every pupil can participate in Lutheran education if they like. And those who do not belong to any religious community can choose ethics. So it's a non-religious subject. They also do some education or learn something about religions. And something like 2% of the students participate in Islamic religious education. But yet again, situation very different in the Helsinki area. The curricula is issued by the Finnish National Agency of Education. Previously, religious communities could have more role in also the curriculum processes in developing those. But at the moment, in the last curriculum that was implemented in 2014, religious communities, they get to comment the drafts, but they are not part of the process of drafting those. But many teachers of Islamic religious education were involved in that process. We have several Christian curricula for Catholic, Orthodox, Lutheran, and some others, but only one for Islam. And there has been some tensions around that. Should Muslims also have separate curricula? There are 3 content areas: the pupil's relationship with his or her religion, the world of religions, and the good life. And as you can see from that, so these content areas apply to all forms of religious education. So we have also had during the past years, some schools have experimented like partially integrated religious education, which means that those the last 2 content areas where there are the curricula like overlap, then the students are taught in the same classroom and separated only for the teaching when it's more about getting to know their own religion. And there are big debates at the moment going on. Maybe we will in the future to try something like this. There are, of course, many practical things why it could be difficult, but these debates have been going on for decades, so I don't know if it leads to anything, but at the moment a lot of pressure to have also teaching where all the pupils would be in the same classroom. And this picture is just one book cover of the textbook for Islamic religious education, also published by the National Agency of Education. Then something about the empirical research on Islamic religious education and Muslims in public education more generally. I'll just briefly show you where I draw from when I show you the results. This was my PhD study, negotiating identity and tradition in single-faith religious education. I observed teaching, interviewed teachers, interviewed students, and analyzed how this liberal religious education aims are pursued and negotiated in Islamic religious education in Finland. And defended this in 2014 with Jenny as opponent. Can you believe it's 8 years ago already? And but after that, I wanted to look more broadly to things in the school communities and inclusion of Muslims there. Also collected some data from Sweden, interviewed school principals or school heads and these cultural pro-Muslim teachers, and did some theoretical journeys about inclusive citizenship, minority cultural capital, how it's recognized in schools or not recognized, and what kind of diversity ideologies principles apply. But I decided not to have theoretical perspectives for this this presentation today, just to have some general results. But if anyone is interested, I have written one chapter putting all these things together about inclusion of Muslims in Finnish public education, and it's in that book. So if anyone is interested, I can send the chapter. Something about the experiences, how the students and teachers themselves experience Islamic religious education. And one of the important things is that it is experienced as an act of recognition by the state. So before anything actually goes on in the classroom, no matter what happens there, merely the fact that it is there, it is very much defended by our Muslim communities. Also other religious minority communities defend this system because it's like an act of recognition to their identity that it is there in the school system. And also the teachers often use this when they try to emphasize to the students that this means that Islam is not alien to Finnish societies. In our public schools, Islam can be taught about. This means that you can bring your Muslim identity to the school. It is legitimate there. And for the students, this is often a space of identity development or value negotiations. Many of them experience it as kind of a safe space in the middle of the school day to talk about the things that they cannot maybe talk about when they are in the other rooms where they have to defend their identities and defend their tradition to others. So when that kind of pressure is taken away, they have more freedom to explore and also be critical. Also, of course, they all do not feel that way, but some of them do. And this is based on the role of religious education teachers, that is, when they are Muslims themselves, the teachers and the students feel that they are like insiders to the Finnish society, but at the same time insiders to the tradition. So they are the kind of persons that they want to ask questions from. So it often happens that the students kind of take over the lessons. The teachers try to stick to the curriculum, but students come with their questions. They are really eager to ask those questions. How can I live in this country as a Muslim? What is okay? What is not okay? How can I relate to my peers? And teachers are balancing, like trying to meet the needs of the students, and also like sticking to the curriculum. Quality varies. Also, its experiences as too easy, repetitive, exclusive towards some Muslim identities because it's general teaching. Many of the teachers are Sunni Muslims, and some of the Shia communities have felt that it is sometimes exclusive. It also depends a lot on the qualifications of the teachers. We have had troubles finding qualified teachers. And it's a very different job to deal with all the difficult issues and tensions. It requires a lot of pedagogical skills, and some of the teachers don't have proper pedagogical training. But now the situation is that we have more and more teachers who are not Muslims themselves teaching Islamic religious education. They have majored in religious studies. So that's like they have the pedagogical quality, but they don't have the trust maybe with the students and the family. So it's a bit difficult situation. In many ways, it's a field of negotiations. The teachers, they use a lot of power in the classroom. They do theology in the classroom. They interpret the tradition. They develop the discourses around what is Finnish Islam, what is to be like a Finnish Muslim. These kind of discourses that it seems that nobody else is creating. And they want to push the Finnish citizenship, commitment to Finnish citizenship through Islam, like really trying to teach about the compatibility of the values and the ability to interpret the Finnish values from an Islamic perspective, and showing that how they easily go together. But they also do this by making claims of true Islam. Like this is the negative things attached to Islam. There are ethnic or cultural things, and the true Islam is the liberal Islam that they can commit to. So they are also creating these identity essentialisms in a way that it's a bit tricky also. How much time do I have?
That's it, 8 minutes.
Okay. So I would say that Islamic religious education, it's very teacher sensitive topic. Of course, all subjects are teacher sensitive, but there is some extra sensitivity in this, because it's not only about the qualifications of the teacher and the expertise of the teachers, but much of the value that is experienced by the students comes from the position of the teachers in the society and in religious communities. This is ongoing research by Niina Putkonen, who is one of my doctoral students. She is doing really interesting research on navigating diversity in Islamic religious education and looking at homeschool collaboration between teachers of Islamic religious education and Muslim parents. And she asked Muslim parents to write letters to researchers about their experiences of Islamic education. And I think the really great thing was that they had a chance to write in several languages. They could write in English, Finnish, Arabic, Farsi, and Somali. So we get data that there are many families that we have not known at all what they think, because there are these language barriers. Now we had a possibility to do that. And this data has not yet been properly analyzed, but what comes through from it without even analysis is that the teachers, and whether or not the teachers are Muslims themselves, that's one of the most important things for the families that they are thinking about. In some schools, there have been non-Muslim Islamic religious education teachers that have been able to create trust with the families, with close collaboration and so on. But the role of teacher is not only in the classrooms, but these are often also persons that are very important in the school community. I have been calling them cultural brokers because they do the kind of job in the school community. They mediate school-home collaboration. They challenge in the school the discrimination and exclusionary norms, support students. They are like the trusted persons of many Muslim students in the schools, build collaboration and trust also between different Muslim communities that are visible in the school, and raise awareness among school staff. Really, this kind of work is not resourced in any way. They just are expected to do this, and they do this. And Finnish principals or school heads, often they are very critical towards the religious education system because there are some practical difficulties. It's difficult to organize for them. But when I have been interviewing them and like mentioning that if we wouldn't have this kind of religious education system, you would lose probably these teachers from your school community who are like experts on Islam and part of the professional community there. And many of them are saying, oh, I have not thought about that. I have to rethink this because I need these persons here in my school to build trust with the Muslim families. This is not the whole truth. We also have many principals who just don't care at all. But some of them do and feel like this. And this cultural broker teachers who identify as Muslims themselves and teach Islamic religious education or other subjects, they also give really important information of the schools. They see that the gap between official level of recognition, they value the Finnish system and the level of religious freedom in Finland, but there is a big gap between what they see in the everyday interactions between people, where the more Islamophobic attitudes come to the front. So in some schools we have this very multiculturalist discourses, like celebrating different cultures, celebrating diversity, but Islam is often excluded from those discourses. And these teachers try to challenge that, say that Islam is also something that we can celebrate in the school community together. Developments in schools where there have been more experience, where there have been like longer history of Muslim families living there, and the school principals and the staff are see the capital, the cultural capital, and that is like positive for education and the valuing of education and all things, and try to build on that also to have some positive recognition. Maybe I will end here. Thank you. Thank you for all. And